All right, so good evening, everyone. Welcome to Viking 6 Tactical Presents Gun Talk Live. Before we dive in, I want to ask you a question, one that every prepared citizen should think about. Have you ever walked past someone and felt instantly that something wasn't right? Maybe it was the way they moved, the way they looked at you, or something you couldn't quite explain. That feeling, the one so many people ignore, is your brain trying to save your life. Tonight, we're going to sharpen that instinct. So my name is George Rodriguez. I'm with Viking 6 Tactical, and I want to thank you for being here. Gun Talk Live is our monthly training and discussion series designed to help the armed civilian, the protector, and the everyday citizen become more confident, more capable, and more prepared. This month's topic is one of the most important defensive skills you'll ever learn, situational awareness. We're going to break down what situational awareness is, what it's not, and how to turn it from a concept into a trained skill you use every single day. By the time we're done, you'll see your environment and the people in it completely differently. Before we begin, quick bit of housekeeping. The chat's going to remain open for comments. Please keep the discussions respectful and on topic. We'll open the floor for questions at the end of the presentation, so jot them down as we go. All right, let's get started. And tonight, hopefully we sharpen some of your senses. So when people hear the phrase situational awareness, many immediately think it means being on edge, constantly scanning, acting like danger is lurking behind every corner. But that's not situational awareness at all. In fact, that mindset is the opposite of what we're trying to build. So let's just break it down. Being mindful in your environment, knowing what's normal so you can quickly identify what isn't. It's a quiet, steady habit of noticing details, doors, people, movement, energy. It's the awareness we should have, but most people lose the moment they look down at their phone. Now compare that to paranoia. Paranoia is fear-driven. It's emotional, exhausting, and reactive. It's when every noise sounds like a threat, every stranger becomes an enemy, and your mind is constantly spinning out worst-case scenarios. Here's a key difference. Situational awareness is proactive, controlled, and calm. Paranoia is reactive, chaotic, and fueled by fear. Think of situational awareness as a mindset, not a stress response. It's about staying present, not tense. It's observing without emotionally attaching yourself to what you see. In the defensive world, we often refer to this as condition yellow. Condition yellow isn't a state of fear, it's a state of relaxed alertness. You're comfortable, but you're engaged. You're not hunting for threats, you're simply aware enough to notice them early. When you're in condition yellow, you're in control of your breathing, your thoughts, and your focus. You walk into a room, identify the exits, take note of the people inside, get a feel for the mood, and continue on with your day without stress, without suspicion, and without anxiety. Situational awareness is not about trying to predict danger. It's about being prepared to recognize it when it appears. And that subtle shift from fear to awareness is what separates people who freeze from people who respond. So as we go deeper into this topic tonight, keep that distinction in mind. We're not teaching you to be paranoid. We're teaching you to be present, calm, observant, and empowered. So before we dive deeper into tonight's training, I want to take a moment to introduce the instructors who will be guiding us through this conversation. First, I'm proud to introduce our guest for this month's Gun Talk Live. So Brian Bowen, also known as Doc, is a founder and lead instructor of Firearm Safety First in Virginia. Brian brings a powerful combination of experience and passion to the field. He's a USCC certified firearms instructor, defensive pistol instructor, range safety officer, and a Virginia, Delaware, Pennsylvania, and Maryland qualified handgun instructor. What really sets Brian apart is his background as a medic. His approach to training is built on prevention, readiness, and practical safety. He's someone who understands on a real-world level what happens when people aren't prepared and what's possible when they are. He leads a multi-state training outreach and is now expanding operations into San Antonio, Texas, with his family partners. Brian's perspective on situational awareness is grounded in realistic and incredible valuable, and I'm excited to have him here with us tonight. For those who may be joining us for the first time, my name is George Rodriguez, and I'm founder of Viking 6 Tactical. I spent 21 years as a combat veteran and 22 years with the Vermont State Police as an instructor, investigator, and patrol officer. These days, I focus on helping everyday citizens train with purpose, whether it's offensive shooting, preparedness, stop the bleed, or home defense planning. Viking 6 Tactical was built around a simple idea. You don't rise to the occasion, you fall back on your level of training. My mission is to make sure your level of training is something that you can rely on when it matters. So tonight you're going to get two perspectives, two instructors from different backgrounds, but with the same goals, empowering you to stay safe, to stay aware, and stay prepared. So with that, let's jump in. So why does situational awareness matter? So let me start this section with a blunt truth. Most violent encounters are over before you even realize they've begun. Think about that for a moment. The average attack, whether it's a mugging, an assault, or robbery, unfolds in about 3 seconds. 3 seconds isn't enough time to pull out your phone, to formulate a plan, or even complete a full thought. So the real question becomes, how do you respond to something you never saw coming? The answer is simple. You don't. You avoid it before it begins. And that's the real power of situational awareness. Situational awareness isn't about being paranoid or jumping at shadows. It's about recognizing danger early enough to give yourself options. I always tell students awareness enables avoidance, and avoidance is always the best win. Let's break it down. Most people think attackers appear out of nowhere, like a switch being flipped. But in reality, that's almost never the case. Criminals, just like predators in the wild, signal their intentions long before they make their move. It could be the way someone angles their body, the way they close distance, the way they're scanning more than shopping, or that uneasy feeling that something doesn't fit. And we call these our spidey senses. Those clues are there if you're trained to see them. Now, let me give you a few real examples. Ordinary places we all visit without much thought. Parking lots, one of the most common locations for assaults and robberies. Poor lighting, people distracted. But when you're aware, when you're scanning routes of approach, when you're keeping your head up, you dramatically reduce your chance of being targeted. Gas stations, people think pumps are safe zones. They're not. You're literally tethered to your vehicle. Hands are occupied, your mind's elsewhere. Situational awareness here isn't paranoia, it's self-preservation. A quick look around a lot and mental note of who's nearby can change everything. Stores, not just because of threat or confrontation, but because stores are where people get so distracted. We get tunnel vision, we focus on products, not people, and that's when you miss the guy following too close or the person who's watching hands more than merchandise. Those details matter. And then the biggest threat to awareness today are social distractions. Phones, earbuds, texting, and daydreaming. It all puts your attention inward when it needs to be outward. Predators look for distracted people. It's not about strength, gender, or age. It's about opportunity. Here's the part most people don't expect. Situational awareness doesn't increase fear, it actually reduces it. Why? Because awareness gives you control. You're no longer walking through the world hoping nothing bad happens. You're moving with confidence because you know you'll see danger coming before it reaches you. You feel less anxious, less unsure, and more prepared. And when you're prepared, you make better decisions. You walk differently, you carry yourself with purpose, and people, especially the wrong people, notice that. So remember, situational awareness is not about being a warrior every second of the day. It's about being present, paying attention, and giving yourself the time you need to act before the threat becomes unavoidable. It's not fear, it's not paranoia, it's empowerment, and it's one of the most important skills you'll ever develop. And that's why we're here tonight. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Doc, and you can give your portion.
Good evening. Well, first of all, thank you, George. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. As we've already heard this before we dive in, I want to thank George Rodriguez and Viking 6 Tactical for inviting me to be a part of this Gun Talk Live series. My name is Brian Doc Bowen, founder of Firearm Safety First LLC, based out of Hampton, Virginia. As you were, as you've already heard, I am a USCCA certified firearm instructor, Maryland qualified handgun instructor, Delaware concealed carry and dangerous weapon instructor, Pennsylvania CCW instructor. Before that, I served in the Navy as a hospital corpsman. Primarily, I served with the Marine Corps in the infantry as a, I guess if you're in the Army, a combat medic. So all these experiences shaped the way I teach, calm, practical, and focused on prevention. So let's go ahead and get to the meat of the matter. Tonight, we're talking about a skill that can literally save our lives: situational awareness. Now, I'm not talking about paranoia or living in fear. I'm talking about calm, confident awareness, the kind of mindset that lets you spot trouble before it starts, gives you those precious seconds to react, and keeps you and your loved ones safe. Think of it as living prepared, not scared. Here's the difference: awareness is calm confidence, paranoia is fear driven hypervigilance. One builds strength, the other drains it. Condition yellow is a sweet spot, relaxed alertness, not stress. Ask yourself, am I scanning my environment calmly, or am I letting fear control me? That distinction does matter. So, why does this matter? Awareness lets you avoid danger before it starts. It buys you precious reaction time, and seconds saves lives. Think about it. If you spot a potential threat 2 seconds earlier, that's 2 seconds to move, to shield, to act. Spotting pre attack cues isn't paranoia, it's prevention. It's the difference between being surprised and being prepared. Now, it's one thing we can talk about awareness in theory, but let me share a real world moment where it mattered to me. About a month ago, I found myself in a situation where I could have drawn my weapon. A man exited his truck aggressively and tried to open the car door of the woman in front of him. Immediately, I noticed a dark object in his right hand. Instead of reacting out of fear, I slowed down. I observed carefully and recognized what it really was: a cell phone in his right hand, which meant I didn't have to draw. But I had already made the mental decision. If I did have to draw, I knew exactly where I would need to fire to protect her without putting her at risk. Moments later, the man ran back to his truck, opened his car window, and again put me in a position of possibly having to draw if he came out at that window with a weapon. Through it all, I stayed calm, alert, and observant. And this is the lesson we're trying to teach you here today. Awareness buys you choices. It keeps you from being connected or cornered into one response. And because I stayed in condition yellow, which we're going to talk about, calm, confident alertness, I didn't have to escalate the situation. So, as you see in the slide here about parking lot awareness drills, something that a lot of people don't really do, and I don't know how many of you all may happen to do it, and that's kind of an open question. But when you walk into a place, a restaurant, a bar, a supermarket, department store, what do? Matter of fact, you walk out your door to walk to your car. What are you doing? Are you observing the surroundings when you walk out your door? Are you taking a look at your vehicle, making sure your tires aren't flat? You walk into a mall, or you pull into a gas station, do you just jump out your car and willy-nilly and not bother observing who's sitting around it? Maybe you see a car on the side with somebody in it, the engine running. Does it look suspicious? As you heard George mention earlier about the spidey senses, I love utilizing that term. I know a thing or two about having spidey senses tingle and something's not right. Maybe you ought to go ahead and extricate yourself from the area. So you have to train yourself and train your eyes to notice what's normal or versus what's out of place. Identify safe routes, vehicles, buildings. We're talking about exits. How can you extricate yourself from a situation? Most of you all might have heard this acronym AED, and that does not stand for automatic electronic defibrillator. That stands for avoid, evade or escape, and defend. The fight that you're going to win is a fight that you don't have to be in. Plain and simple. Let me repeat that in case you didn't hear me the first time. The fight that you win is the fight that you don't have to be in. Recognize distraction and traps. Avoid having yourself brought into unsafe situations. One of those things, and I'm going to talk about in a second, cell phones. As beautiful as cell phones happen to be, the technology, they do become a hindrance. They take our focus away from what's really important out here, and that's our surroundings. So, how do we build this skill? Well, we have to practice what if thinking, practice what if scenarios. Now, my father taught my brother and myself many years ago to learn how to use what if thinking. What would happen if you're driving down the road 70 miles an hour and your hood was to pop open? What are you going to do? If your tires were to blow, what are you going to do? You walk into a store and you hear a commotion. What are you going to do? How are you going to react? You're in a restaurant. Where are the exits at? How are you going to get out of there? How are you going to evade the situation? These are all the things that we have to consistently, constantly put in the forefront of our minds. Again, this is about being prepared, not paranoia. So, in the parking lot, what if I'm approaching the parking lot? How do I handle it? Now, if you're a woman, how do you handle that situation? You're walking out of the store. Hopefully, you're not on that cell phone and you see somebody milling around your car. Do you keep walking out to your car, not knowing what's going on with this individual? Or do you allow that sixth sense to take over? Something doesn't feel right. It probably isn't. Maybe you need to go back inside the store and get a security guard to walk out there with you. We do everything we can to stay safe. Again, not paranoid. So running these drills in your mind builds muscle memory. Condition yellow isn't just a mindset, it's a habit. Everyday awareness is like brushing your teeth. Small, consistent actions that keep you sharp. Scan exits when you enter a room. Note unusual behavior. Stay present instead of buried in your phone. Please put those cell phones away. These habits all add up. So, my key takeaways: situational awareness is a skill that you can build. Confidence comes from practice, not panic. Awareness doesn't just protect you, it protects the people you care about. And here's the truth: increased awareness can save lives. It's not theory, it's reality. Every drill, every habit, every moment of calm alertness adds to your safety net. So, as we finish tonight's session, remember this: situation awareness isn't about living in fear, it's about living prepared. Keep practicing those skills every day. Stay in condition yellow. Condition yellow is where, especially us who happen to be carrying every day, we have to live in condition yellow. This is where we are aware of our surroundings at all times. Now, there are three other conditions that they have out there. Condition white, those are for those who are unaware. Condition red, you are prepared to do what you have to do. Condition black, situation's already been taken care of, one way and or the other. We hope not to get into that position. This is why we have to stay in a constant, everyday condition yellow. We all know about the stoplights. Yellow means caution. That's what condition is. we're cautious. So once again, I want to thank George Rodriguez and Viking 6 Tactical for hosting me here tonight. I am Brian Doc Bowen, Firearm Safety First LLC based out of Hampton, Virginia. And until next time, stay safe, stay vigilant. And with that, I turn it over to George.
All right. Thank you, Doc. All right. So right now, what I want to do is I want to walk you through one of the simplest and most powerful situational awareness drill that I teach. This is something that you can practice every single day without any equipment, without any training background, without anyone around you even knowing you're doing it. I call it the store exercise. This drill starts the moment you walk into any store. Publix, Walmart, Home Depot, convenience store, it doesn't matter. The goal is not to hunt for threats. The goal is to sharpen your eyes, your awareness, and your ability to recognize patterns. Now, I'll give you a quick example of this. And most people realize this when they really start to think about it. But if you buy a brand new car and you leave the parking lot of the dealership and you start looking around, um, you're going to see the same color car that you're driving all over the place, even though before that you never saw that color car or your model of car. You're going to see it all over the place because our eyes are now becoming more aware and they're sharpening in on our ability to recognize that is a something that we're looking for. Right? So what I do is I tell people when they go into these stores, start looking for a knife clip. So you look at people's pockets and you're looking for that knife clip. And most people who carry firearms, they're going to carry a knife in their pocket. They're going to carry it on the strong side, right? They carry it whether it's for work, utility, everyday carry it, but they keep it clipped into their dominant side pocket. So right-handed people will almost always clip it on the right, left-handed people on the left. Now you're going to think, why does this matter? Because what we're doing is we're training our eyes to pick up that smallest detail in a crowded environment, right? So you're not judging anyone, you're not labeling them as threat, you're just simply exercising your awareness muscles. And you think of it like going to the gym, but instead of lifting weights, you're lifting your ability to observe. So at first, you're going to have to deliberately look for the little metal clip, but after a few days of practice, you're going to start to see them automatically without effort. That's when you know your brain is learning to scan at a higher level. What you start to notice, the unexpected benefits of this is where the magic happens. So while you're looking for the knife clip, you're going to start noticing a lot more than just the knife clip. Your brain begins to widen the lens, and suddenly you're going to pick up clothing imprints, things pressing through shirts or pockets that don't quite fit the fabric. Gait changes, someone walking stiffly on one side because they're carrying something heavy or unfamiliar. Nervous behavior, fidgeting, looking around too much, avoiding eye contact, or the classic fake shopping. Bulges consistent with concealed carry. You're not identifying who is armed, you're just noticing physics of objects under clothing. You're going to notice people watching others. The guy scanning the customers instead of the sales rack. Person who doesn't pick up a basket, doesn't shop, doesn't walk with a purpose. You weren't looking for any of that, but your awareness grows because your mind loves patterns. Once you give it a target, even a simple one, it begins to collect more information automatically. That's the heart of the situational awareness. You're not obsessing, you're not paranoid, you're simply paying attention. Pattern recognition is a true skill. The real benefit of this drill isn't identifying who has a pocket knife.
So
That's
what are
irrelevant.
people supposed to do today?
The
Because
so you begin to quickly identify who belongs in the environment, who's distracted, who's confident, who's uncomfortable, who's watching people instead of shopping, who's carrying something that they don't want others to notice. You start gaining the ability to categorize behavior, posture, and movement without consciously thinking about it. This is what law enforcement, military personnel, and trained protectors automatically do. And with simple drills like this, you can build the same skill set. So when you make this exercise a habit, you're going to notice something else. You're going to feel calmer. You're not going to be anxious. You're calmer. Why? Because you're building competence. Competence reduces fear. And when fear goes down, confidence goes up. Instead of walking into places blind, you'll begin walking in with a natural sense of orientation. You already know where people are, who's acting normally, and where the exits are. So this is your assignment from now on, is the next time you walk into a store, Pick a single detail, the knife clip, and look for it. Don't stare, don't be obvious. Just let your eyes scan as you move. And then allow your brain to work for you. Let it pick up the little things. Over time, your situational awareness is going to sharpen in a way that feels natural, automatic, and empowering. The drill isn't about fear, it's about being present, capable, and prepared. So as we wrap this section up, I want to leave you with a few key takeaways. Simple ideas that can truly change the way you move through the world. First, situational awareness is a skill, not a personality trait. No one is born with it. You're not naturally paranoid or naturally observant. Awareness is something you develop the same way you build strength or endurance, through repetition, practice, and small daily habits. The drills we've talked about today, like the store exercise, are designed to sharpen that ability a little bit more until it becomes second nature. Second, these skills work best when they're incorporated into your everyday routines. You don't need special training or a tactical background. You need to be consistent. Whether you're walking into a store, pulling into a parking lot, or stopping at a gas station, these are opportunities to practice that relaxed observation, condition yellow. When you make awareness a lifestyle instead of a once in a while activity, it becomes effortless. Third, and this is important, avoiding a fight is always the best win. The best defensive encounter is the one you never had to be a part of. The whole point of situational awareness is not to make you fearful or suspicious, it's to help you avoid danger before it reaches you. A person who sees trouble early up can step away, redirect, or simply choose a better path. That's a true victory. Finally, remember this: awareness gives you time to respond, and time saves lives. Most attacks happen fast, 3 seconds, sometimes less. If you're unaware, those 3 seconds vanish instantly. But if you see the cues, if you catch the behavior, the posture, the movement, that awareness buys you precious seconds. And those seconds are often the difference between being a victim and being in control. So as you move forward, carry these ideas with you. Awareness is trainable, practice makes it natural, avoidance is success, and time is your greatest ally. If you build these habits now, they're going to serve you for the rest of your life. So what we're going to do now, this is the part of the webinar where we open the door for you to ask questions. We've covered a lot of information tonight, from understanding the real meaning of situational awareness, to practicing drills you can start using immediately, to the mindset that keeps you prepared without slipping into paranoia. Now I want to hear from you. This is your opportunity to ask questions, clarify ideas, and dig deeper into the parts of tonight's training that matter most to your daily life. Feel free to bring up scenarios, things you've experienced in parking lots, stores, gas stations, or even out walking the dog. If you've ever wondered, what should I have done in those moments, this is the perfect time to ask. You can also ask about training strategies, whether it's how to practice more effectively, how to build habits, or how to incorporate these drills into your normal routines. Between Doc and myself, we can give you perspectives based on real world instruction, law enforcement experience, and everyday civilian application. And of course, we welcome questions about mindset, how to stay confident without being fearful, how to stay observant without feeling overwhelmed, and how to balance preparedness with normal life. So go ahead, ask your questions. We'll take one at a time, and we'll make sure that you walk away with clear, practical answers that you can put to use immediately. So with that, does anyone have a question?
I have a question. This is Allison. Hi, thank you for this training. It was very, very informative and eye-opening. I have a question. You talked a lot about like shopping malls and parking lots. I take the subway to work. And growing up, one of the things I always did, and it's very obvious. Instead of facing the train, like where the train is coming, I always had my back. I was trained and taught by my cousin to have my back towards where the train is. This way, I can see who's around me as opposed to standing and waiting for a train and getting pushed onto the tracks. But now as an adult and I go to work in DC and I'm facing that way, to me, what was natural and common, people are looking at me like I'm weird and suspicious. So my question is, when I'm at the train tracks and waiting for the subway, should I really be standing facing the crowd? And and if I shouldn't be, how do I keep myself aware while I'm facing the train tracks looking for the train?
You want to take that, George? Or let me take that.
Why don't you take that since we don't have any subways here in Florida, and from where I'm in Vermont, we had zero subways. You probably have a lot more experience with that than I do.
Okay. Well, hi, Allison. How you doing?
Good.
Okay. Well, to answer that question, uh, the best thing I can say to do is to put yourself in a position of advantage so that you can observe those people that are around you and coming towards you. Staying off your cell phone or keeping the AirPods out your ears so you can hear things that are going on around you, those will help to keep you safe. Same time, too, non-lethal OC spray, pepper spray, pepper gel, having that available to you so that if someone was to attack you, because we know these things do happen, at least you have a means of protecting yourself. So I think, again, placing yourself in a position of advantage. Uh, there in DC, I believe I remember correctly, some of the train stations have pillars, right? I don't think it's all totally wide open. There's maybe some pillars. If you can find one that you can put your back up against, that's fine. So you can still see when the train is coming, but you can also still see when somebody happens to approach you. That's my answer. George?
Yeah, and I would say, I think, um, keeping your head on a swivel, no matter where you're at, whether you're in the subway, the gas station, stores, just out walking down the street, keeping your head on a swivel, not focusing on one thing. So even when we don't have the cell phones in our hands, a lot of times we're just looking, 4 or 5 feet in front of us, and that's it. We're not looking the block ahead. We're not looking far enough ahead. And this is something I bring this up all the time. We see this all the time when you see like demonstrations going on. And you look at the overhead view and you can see there's 500 people in the street and you see a car coming down the street and the next thing you know, the car is in among those people. That person most likely did not want to be in that situation, but they were focusing 20, 30 feet in front of their car. They weren't looking a block ahead to see, oh, there's a big crowd there. Let me turn off, you know, and we get into that habit. So I think if you start practicing, and that's why I like the knife drill, because now I'm looking at everybody, right? And you're training yourself to start looking at everyone. Your mind will automatically do this. As a police officer, in Vermont, we had these little stickers on the car for inspections. Um, I could be driving down the road at 50 miles an hour and a car coming at me at 50 miles an hour, and I could see that color of that sticker every single time. Like I'd be up, there's an expired sticker. There's an expired sticker. Small little 2 inch by 2 inch sticker I would pick out at 50 miles an hour because I was training myself to do that. Same thing doing drug interdiction. There are things that you look at that you're training your mind to look at. So the more you train your mind to look at things, the better things are going to become. So yeah, keep that head in that swivel is the most important thing you can do. Um, I- that's pretty much
I have
all
one
I
more
can think of
thing.
that. Yep.
I got one more thing. Oh, something else too. Uh, there's a thing that kind of happens to us, and this doesn't just necessarily happen to us during a self-defense incident, okay? But it's called tunnel vision, where we wind up allowing ourselves to just so focus in on just one thing that we are oblivious to everything else that's going on around us. Okay. Yes, I know I harp on cell phones big time. I mean, my students will tell you I harp on cell phone usage so much. Okay. But that's one of the things that will cause you to have tunnel vision. I believe, for the most part, we all drive. So since we know we drive, we know we can't drive with tunnel vision. We have got to be able to see the big picture. We got a big windshield in front of us, which allows us to expand our view. So we have to be aware and cognizant of everything that's going on around us. Sights, sounds, smells. Again, that spidey senses, when it starts to tingle, if something ain't right. We have to keep ourselves in constant awareness. And again, This is not about being paranoid. This is just about being prepared for whatever. Here ends my lesson.
I hope that answered your question.
No, it did. Thank you. I appreciate that. I am a little bit questionable about the pepper spray because I know we really can't carry that, and as ladies, we have our bag, so it's kind of weird sometimes. I feel like maybe I should have one and keep it in my pocket because in my bag, then I'm gonna be fidgeting for it. But how do we conceal a pepper spray if we don't have it in our pockets and we have like a big coat or something like that. Like how do
You're in the
we cover
DC,
that?
Maryland area, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Uh, Pepper spray is legal in DC and Maryland,
Okay.
definitely in Maryland. Uh, and there are different types, different brands. So I'm not going to bother shouting out a particular brand or not, but they have some that you can put on your keychain, so you can have that in your hand. You can just have this the regular canister, and if you're wearing coats like during the wintertime, you can have that inside of your whichever. If you're right or left-handed, you can have that inside that pocket with your hand inside the pocket, with that inside your hand, so that if you need it, you can come out with that and you can spray if you need to. So you don't have to bother digging into your purse. As far as the purse concerned, this is why I am really against off-body carry, as we call it, of a weapon. Why? Because one, your purse can get taken. If you lose your purse, you lose your weapon, you lose your ID. So I believe in keeping things on your body because then you know where that's at and you have quicker access to it on your body. George?
Yeah, so Allison, I'm as you know, prior law enforcement, I will tell you, I'm not a big fan of pepper spray. And one of the big reasons with pepper spray is if you spray someone, you're most likely going to get sprayed. It's not a controlled environment. There's wind. You're going to get the same effects of the pepper spray. There's a lot of things out there that are really really good to have. One of the big things is drawing attention to yourself. On Amazon, they have these personal alarms. They fit right in your keychain. You pull the cord and it sounds off this loud decibel warning. You know, it makes people look. I think those things are really great and they're cheap. They're like 6, 7 bucks. Um, it makes a lot of noise, so it's something that's really good to have. If people are looking at you, a bad person will most likely leave the area. The other thing I like instead of pepper spray are keychain devices. So there's things like the Munio key defense system. It's a really good system. It's something that your keys attached to, you keep in your hand, and it ends up being like a set of brass knuckles, right? So it's a keychain, but it sits in your hand. You can stab people with it. It's not going to puncture, but it'll break their grip. It's things that, you know, that will help you out, right? So easy things that you stick in your purse or you have in your pocket, your jacket, when something happens, like we said, 3 seconds, right? 1001, 1002, 1003. That's a defensive incident. That's how quick it happens. Are you really going to have time to grab that stuff? It's got to be something that you keep in your hands. So what I would suggest, and I teach when I teach like women's safety, is if you're out in public, keep something in your hand, right? I keep my keychain in my hand all the time. My keychain has a self-defense tool on it. And I'm always playing with it. But it's in my hand. If something ever happens, it's ready to go, right? I'm ready for if I did everything wrong and now that 3 seconds happens, I can at least respond. I have something to break someone's grip. I have something that's going to do something. So I would say having that on you all the time, keep it in your hand and make it so something that's um not considered a weapon. Doesn't look like a weapon. It looks just like something that you have. I think John, you have something you want to say?
Definitely.
Yeah, John,
Yeah,
can you get a little bit closer to the microphone? Because I think you're a little bit farther away and it's hard to hear you.
Yeah, but John, thank you for that because that's what I do.
Yeah.
I actually stand at the train station on the subway and I turn around because sometimes some hours the pill it's not so much that we have pillars, it's like a wall that they have down in DC, and a lot of people stand on that wall. So sometimes I don't have that opportunity to stand on that wall. I never stand close to that edge by that yellow line. Sometimes like you said the trains are going up and down, so I'll stand in the middle, but I always kind of have my back towards the tracks because if anybody's gonna push me, I want to see you push me, you know? And then also, is there a way that any of you can send a link or email where I could, because you said it was on Amazon that I can get that alarm or the mule, the hand ones, because I hold my keys in between my fingers, like if I'm ready to stab somebody. But I think that other one would be better, and especially the alarm. I think the alarm is good too because people would definitely look up if they hear an alarm or something.
Yeah.
But thank
Yeah,
you.
Allison, I've got your email, so I will send you links to those things, so you
Okay.
can see them. And yeah, thanks for your input, John. That's really good stuff.
And
Um,
one more thing too, very quickly, Allison, your
yep.
biggest alarm is your voice.
Mhm. Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know
Your number one
because
alarm is your voice.
I don't know because like I knew growing up, one of the things they were saying that if you are attacked to yell fire instead of help because people would more look when if like why are you yelling fire? They're gonna look around. Also, you have moments I find, especially as a woman, you get attacked where there's no one around. That's when the cowards, and I do call them cowards, that's when they
Mhm.
try to approach a female so that they wouldn't be seen, they wouldn't be caught. She can't get away. So even to say, yeah, the most powerful thing I have is my voice, if nobody's around, it does become pointless.
Yeah, and that's why you have to have um a big toolbox of things that you have, right? But I think what Brian was talking about is you know, your voice, when you use your voice, if you use an alarm, if people aren't there, they're not going to see it. The same thing, if you use your voice and you sound confident and you project your voice, it has a whole lot more meaning than not saying anything. So a lot of times saying, back off, get away from me, those things like that, that's going to draw people to why is she saying that? Right. So that's why you want to say things like that. And then when they don't, you pull that alarm and then like, oh, there's something wrong. So using that voice, there's no one thing out there that solves every problem. That's unfortunately, if there was, I'd be a millionaire because I'd have the tool that could protect everyone, right? So there's not one thing out there. So you have to have that big toolbox of different things that you have, your voice, the alarms, tools, if it gets to that point. If it gets to that point where you're using tools, it's everything else has failed. So you just want to have a good toolbox of stuff. All right.
Okay, thank you.
All right. And I think Ron, you had something you wanted to say?
yeah, what I wanted to say is um the one with the voice. Um the second thing is that you mentioned that what I would think that I tell people to say is that I don't need anything. Don't come any closer. And just go ahead and just yell that in that aspect because that's something that when you go to get gas and somebody want to ask, hey, can I ask you a question? No, you can't ask me nothing. And I say it loud in that particular aspect. You know what I mean? Whether I'm at a gas station by myself or if there's people around me, I just train myself to go ahead and do that. Um, um, the other thing is I want to mention as far as with the pepper spray, I found something that was completely different, and it kind of brought me to the other side. If you're old enough to remember silly string, they got silly string that's just like pepper spray, and you don't get that flow back. You know what I mean? As far as with the wind, and whatever it touches, it automatically lets that individual vapor out. And I have, like I said, and I have that for my family. I have it for my wife and my daughter. Now, getting them to carry it on a regular basis is something completely different. You know what I mean? But I've already trained my daughter, and my wife doesn't want to be trained. So the bottom line is, let me go ahead and give you something versus you just having nothing. You know what I mean? That you can still turn around and be able to escape and using your voice at the individual same time. And almost all of us remember how we shot silly string out of a can, and they had them in different sizes. So that's one of the biggest things that I found out as far as with the pepper spray aspect. That it's easy to carry, and you can have your hand on it at all times. You know, no matter where you walk, no matter where you walk. You know what I mean? Especially with the open, especially with the off the body carry. I say, well, you have off the body carry, that's fine. You have that, but you still have your hand on something else. But don't have your ID in there. Have your ID on your person. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like you staging yourself. You know, and of course she doesn't like that when going out. I just want to put everything in, but you just need to kind of think about it that particular way. You know, two other things. The other thing that's been as far as with here, because that's something that they doing. So just to give a couple of tidbits.
No, I
That's it.
appreciate that, Ron. That good. It's all great stuff. Um, I I always say, situational awareness is almost like when you decide to carry a firearm. It's a complete lifestyle change. All right, it's not just, oh, I'm gonna start practicing like situational awareness. You're actively saying, all right, I'm gonna start looking at things. All right. And people, I always say this all the time, people will look, but they never really see what's going on. Right.
Mhm.
They'll drive down the road for weeks at a time, and then someone will be like, oh, did you see that sign? And they'll be like, oh, how long has it been there? Because they didn't see it because they're so used to things, right? So what you have to do is you have to really train your mind and say, okay, uh, I tell this people all the time, as prior law enforcement, the real first responder is yourself, right? As law enforcement, as emergency services, as EMTs or anything like that, um, they're first responders, but they're not the first ones on scene. You're the first one on scene, right? So you have to prepare yourself to be ready medically, whatever it's going to be. You have to sit there and change the way you do things. You have to look and see everything that's going around you. And like I said, it's not paranoid. I'm looking for that small detail. I'm looking for whatever you decide you're going to look for, and that's going to open your eyes to see other things. That's why police officers, they can spot that they spot all the cars with no front plate if it's a state that has front plates. They spot the cars with, over tinted windows, things like that. They spot those things because they're looking for them. So it's not something that's impossible. We can all train our mind to see that. And I can tell you, like, I watch a lot of videos because I try to like use videos with a lot of my training. And I can tell you that almost every video I've seen, the person who's done something bad has telegraphed it. You
Mhm.
can see them. They've either had body language shows they're getting ready. My daughter loves watching like live PD type shows, right? And I'll watch them and I'll be like, that guy's gonna run, right? Just by what they're doing. They're loosening up, they're looking around, they're looking for their escape routes. You see those things. So if you start training yourself to look for those cues, look at videos where people get assaulted and look at the bad guy and look what they were doing. If you know learn how to spot those indicators and you say, "Oh, I saw this in a video where a guy he started stretching his arms out. He was sitting there getting ready before he assaulted someone, right? Because he's loosening up." And you see someone start doing that, well, that's a cue that the person is getting ready to fight. So those are just things. It's like I said, it's a whole lifestyle change, and the more you get into it, the more you're going to pick up. And like I said, I go out all the time, and I don't think I'm paranoid, but I see things. I'm like, oh, that person's gonna do something wrong. And yep, there they go. They did something wrong. You just pick that stuff up.
Yeah,
Um,
piggybacking off of what George got to saying, uh, and I say the same exact thing to all my students, that when you get into this lifestyle of being a concealed carrier, it is a lifestyle choice. So with lifestyle choices means comes lifestyle changes. We cannot conduct ourselves the same way we did before we started carrying, the same way after we start carrying. Okay. We have to make sure that as I said earlier, we avoid those things, places, things, people that can cause us to possibly have to do something that we really don't want to do. So, yes, as George indicated, you only have about 3 seconds to make a decision. So, this is why your mindset has already got to be on a regular, everyday basis. Maybe not when you're sitting inside your home, comfortable, but even then, still, you still have got to be aware. But when you're out in public, your senses become more heightened, your vision becomes more expanded, your hearing gets become a little more acute. That's why putting earbuds in, listening to music doesn't really help you when you're outdoors. All right, because then you really can't hear the sounds that things are going on. You can't hear people walking up behind you. You learn how to pay attention to an individual, how they're dressed, as George said, where their hands may happen to be. You're doing this for a number of reasons. One, you're doing it for identification purposes. Two, you're doing it for letting the other individual know that I see you. So we walk proud, tall, head up. I see you. You've already taken a quick mental image of what this individual looks like, so that if something was to happen, at least you can give an accurate report.
So to piggyback on what Brian just said, which was a great thing, you know, everyone's been to Walmart, right? And you see the greeters at Walmart when you first walk in. If you don't understand why Walmart has greeters, they spent millions of dollars on a study. And the study found that when they had someone at the door that made eye-to-eye contact and greeted someone when they came in the stores, their retail thefts diminished. It was it was a huge change in the amount of retail thefts just by making that eye-to-eye contact. So making that eye-to-eye contact is something that's really really good to do. And I forgot all about that, Brian. So I'm happy you brought that up. That's really important. Making
Not a
someone
problem.
seeing you is really important. But we're hitting that hour mark, so we are going to stay on after this. So if you have more questions, we'll answer more questions after this for however long it takes. But I just want to wrap things up for tonight. First, I want to thank each of you for taking the time to join us for this month's Gun Talk Live. Your willingness to learn, ask questions, stay engaged, is exactly what keeps this community strong and prepared. Before you head out, keep an eye out for details on next month's webinar, which is going to be on home defense training. And that'll be on Wednesday, January 7th, same time. And it'll be the same way. Jump on USCCA. You can sign up for the class, and I'll send you the link the night before. Um, and hopefully you continue to build on the skills that we covered tonight. Um, if you haven't already, make sure you follow Viking 6 Tactical and Firearm Safety First on social media. And that's where we post training clips, class updates, announcements of future webinars. Staying connected helps keep us informed, and it helps us continue delivering content that relevant to everyday carry and personal protection goals. And finally, if you come next month, bring a friend with you, right? Tell them about that. Tell them, have them jump in. These classes will always be free. And we will always, put out as much information as we can to help people out. And the conversations are stronger when more people are involved, especially those who are new to training or unsure where to start. So your invitation could be what helps someone become safer, more confident, and better prepared. So thank you again for being part of tonight's session. Stay safe, stay alert, and we'll see you at the next Gun Talk Live. And for those of you that are here with us, make sure you leave a review on USCCA. That'll help both Brian and myself out. And also go and leave a Google review. Like I said, all those things help us out and help us get out to more people. So with that, we're going to end the meeting. But like I said, we will continue to answer questions. If anyone has any questions.